Because a written document doesn't have archaeological evidence, I'm thinking of the Book of Mormon here, does not prove that the text is wrong. Critics, pay attention. There's a serious archaeologist, actually all of them think this way, who disagrees with you saying, well, if we can't find Nephi's bow, then the Book of Mormon's false. If we can't find the city of Zarahemla archaeologically, then that proves it never existed. Wrong answer. Thanks for playing I don't have a clue, however. You don't have a clue how archaeology works and what it does and doesn't prove. The absence of the archaeological evidence does not prove the written text is false. Page 70. Go get this source. You need to read Roland DeVoe's information, folks. Seriously. It will correct many problems in your thinking. It will also solve many problems for your thinking. Page 76 of DeVoe. Kathleen Kenyon said, it is impossible to associate the destruction of Jericho with the date of the Exodus of the 13th century BC. Archaeology refutes the biblical information on that score. Not proves, it refutes it. It shows so far the Bible record is inaccurate. Alternatively, the placing of Jericho of a dramatic siege and capture may be an atheological explanation of the ruined city. Archaeology cannot provide the answer to Jericho. Archaeology cannot provide the answer in this biblical instance. It has limitations. There is no final proof. So, insofar as Gibeon is concerned, J.B. Pritchard declares, there can be no doubt on the basis of the best evidence available that we have, that there was no city of any importance at the time of Joshua. He continues, the apparent anomalies found in the archaeological results from 3 sites which figure prominently in the narratives in the first part of Jericho, or the Bible, of Joshua, that is, the 3 sites are Jericho, Ai, and Gibeon, suggests that we have reached an impasse on the question of supporting the traditional view of the conquest as it is recorded with archaeological undergirding. In other words, archaeology doesn't support the biblical record at this juncture. Y. Aharoni discovered a number of settlements of the beginning of the Iron Age in Galilee, and here's his conclusion. He says, this picture does not fit in with the theory that the Israelites penetrated Galilee in one big military campaign where they defeated the Canaanites led by the king of Hazor. On the contrary, it fits with the views of those scholars who think that in Galilee, the penetration into unsettled regions preceded the decisive military encounter. Page 77. In certain cases, the value of the archaeological evidence and the significance of the text which it is supposed to clarify have both been exaggerated. Holy cow. The biblical account exaggerates some historical situations, so the archaeologist coming along wanting to confirm the biblical account exaggerates the significance of the archaeological information, and they're both wrong. Wow. Fascinating. Lachish was destroyed at the end of the late Bronze Age. Lachish is a city just 35 miles outside of Jerusalem. It was destroyed then. But archaeologically, Lachish cannot be used to confirm the date or the fact of an Israelite conquest. You can't do it. The agents of the destructions of Lachish may have been Israelites, or it could have been the Egyptians, or it could have been the Sea Peoples, or it could have been other Canaanites. But the archaeological record cannot prove who it was. That's on page 77. Roland DeVoe on page 78. He says the biblical tradition exists. That's true. It may have overstressed the role of Joshua and the extent of the first conquests, but it cannot have completely invented the story that groups of Israelites entered into Palestine at that time and established themselves at least partly by violence. We understand that. Palestine at that time, one will always have to reconstruct biblical history by starting with the texts. And the texts must be interpreted by the methods of literary criticism, tradition criticism, and historical criticism. Archaeology does not confirm the text, which is what it is. But archaeology can only confirm the interpretation which we give the text. If the results of archaeology seem to be opposed to the conclusions of text criticism, the reasons may be perhaps that not enough archaeological facts are known, or that they have not been firmly established. The reason also may be that the text has been wrongly interpreted itself, in this case the Bible. And it has. Accord must finally be achieved between these two means of knowing historical reality, but it cannot and must not be attained by a tendentious use of the archaeological facts. If biblical studies have suffered from an excess of textual criticism, the remarkable and beneficial growth and progress of archaeology must not be permitted to lead to an opposite excess. But that's what has happened in the past. It's on page 78. Near Eastern Archaeology in the 20th Century. Roland DeVoe, one of the very finest biblical scholars and archaeologists, showing once again that the Bible cannot be proven by archaeology. I could repeat this exercise really seriously with 500 more sources. I only took a small selection from my library. I still have another 50 sources in my truck that I'm not even going to worry about getting to right now. I'll do it another time because there's other things I want to study. I believe there's enough that has been established that we now know how archaeology works and doesn't work, and we understand how the biblical scholars use archaeology, that we can begin to effectively approach both archaeology and the Bible, and hopefully the Book of Mormon, with the correct perception, with the correct context based on reality, not this tissue of absurdity of proving or disproving. The Scriptures will never be able to have that luxury of being either proven or disproven. There is no biblical archaeologist out there who says it will ever be proven. It can't. There is no biblical archaeologist out there who says archaeology is the science of proof. It's not. So this argument that the Bible is proven archaeologically, while the Book of Mormon is proven false archaeologically, that argument is simply false.